All right, everybody. Welcome back. Today we're tackling something super practical and honestly kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Evidence-based supervision in ABA. And we've got this cool 7-step protocol that's like straight from the research, and it's basically like a roadmap to better staff performance.
That's right.
Happier teams and better outcomes for our clients.
You hit the nail on the head. It all comes back to client outcomes, right?
Right.
So what's really neat about this approach is that it helps us supervisors make sure everything we're doing with our staff is actually moving us toward those goals.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So first things first, we start with outcomes. But like most agencies already have some kind of system for defining outcomes, right?
Yeah.
What's different about this protocol?
Well, that's where a lot of agencies kind of get tripped up.
Okay.
Defining the outcomes is definitely step one, but then there's this gap between the what and the how.
Okay.
And this protocol really bridges that gap.
I see.
It forces you to get super specific about what staff need to do to help clients reach those outcomes.
So it's not just improve communication skills.
Right.
It's okay to improve communication skills.
Right.
Staff need to implement this specific intervention with 80% fidelity. Collect data on, these 3 behaviors.
Exactly.
And run parent training sessions twice a week.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Okay.
And that's the core of steps 1 and 2.
Got it.
Getting really clear on those actions.
Yeah.
And I know it might seem obvious, but think about it.
Okay.
How often do we actually break it down to that level of detail?
Not going to lie, probably not as often as we should.
Yeah.
And I bet that lack of clarity is what leads to all the supervision headaches we deal with.
Exactly. Which brings us to step 3, training.
Okay.
And not just any training. We're talking performance and competency-based training.
Okay.
We need to make sure staff not only know what to do, but can actually do it.
This reminds me of when I was a brand new BCBA. And we had this new data collection app rolled out, and they basically just gave us the login and said, good luck.
Oh, no.
It was a disaster. Nobody knew how to use it properly. The data was a mess, and everyone was frustrated.
Oh, yeah. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But imagine if instead they had walked you through each step of the app, given you practice scenarios, and actually observed you using it correctly before letting you loose with clients.
Oh, yeah.
That's competency-based training.
That would have made a world of difference.
Yeah.
So we've got outcomes, action plans, solid training. What's next in this magical 7-step process?
Now get to the real-time stuff.
Okay.
Step 4, monitoring. It's how we keep our finger on the pulse of how our staff are doing.
Okay. But I got to admit, monitoring always makes me think of micromanaging.
Sure.
And that just breeds resentment.
Right.
How do we avoid that?
That is a valid concern.
Yeah.
And that's why this step is so crucial to get right.
Okay.
Effective monitoring is all about choosing the right strategies, being consistent, and making sure staff understand why we're doing it.
All right, you've piqued my curiosity. Tell me more about these monitoring strategies.
Okay, well, when it comes to monitoring, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Right.
You've got your direct observation, where you're actually watching staff interact with clients, which is great for assessing skills and action.
Makes sense. But, who has time to shadow every staff member all the time?
Right. And that's where you might use data checks.
Okay.
Are they collecting data accurately? Is the data, reflecting progress or lack thereof with the client?
Right.
That can tell you a lot about how things are going.
Okay, so we've got eyes on observation
Yeah.
and data review.
Right.
What else?
Don't forget about those permanent products.
Oh, right.
Our session notes detailed and thorough. Our treatment plans being updated.
Yeah.
Even things like client communication logs can be a gold mine of information.
This is giving me a whole new perspective on monitoring. It's not just about catching people doing things wrong.
Right.
It's about getting a full picture of how they're implementing programs.
Exactly.
Communicating with families, basically. Doing their jobs.
Exactly. And that brings us to those 2 sides of the supervision coin.
Okay.
Support and correction.
Okay.
Steps 5 and 6 of the protocol.
All right. I got to admit, I was a little nervous about the correction part.
Sure.
Sounds kind of harsh.
I get it, but think about it this way.
Okay.
We're all human. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect at their job 100% of the time.
Right.
Corrective supervision is about helping staff course correct when things aren't going as planned.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But how do we know,
right.
when to offer support versus when we need to step in with correction?
That's where all that monitoring data becomes our guide.
Okay.
So let's say we're seeing, consistently high quality data.
Yeah.
Session notes are detailed. the client is making good progress. That's a staff member who probably needs more support than correction.
Okay.
We want to acknowledge their hard work.
Yeah.
Maybe offer some additional training resources.
Right.
And just let them know we're there to help.
So support is about recognizing what's going well.
Yes.
And helping them kind of maintain that high level of performance.
You got it. Now let's flip the script.
Okay.
What if the data's all over the place?
Uh-oh.
Session notes are missing key information.
Yeah.
And the client's progress has stalled.
Okay.
That's when corrective supervision comes in.
Okay. But even then, we need to understand the why.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we jump into fix-it mode, right?
Absolutely. Remember those possible reasons we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Is it a skill deficit?
Right.
A motivational issue? Something external getting in the way?
Yeah.
Our job as supervisors is to figure that out.
So if a staff member is struggling to implement like a specific behavior intervention,
right?
It could be that they didn't fully grasp the concept during training. Maybe they need a refresher, some role-playing practice, or some extra support from a more experienced BCBA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if they understand the intervention perfectly, but just aren't putting it into practice consistently?
Right.
That's where we need to explore the motivational piece.
Yeah.
Maybe they're feeling overwhelmed with their caseload. Maybe they're not seeing the client respond as quickly as they'd like.
Right.
Or maybe there are some personal stressors impacting their work.
Okay, so it's like detective work.
I love that.
We gather clues from our monitoring data.
Yes.
We talk to the staff member.
Right.
We try to understand the full context.
Exactly.
And then we choose the most appropriate and effective way to support them.
I love that analogy, detective work.
Yeah.
And the more we understand about the why, the more likely we are to choose the right corrective action.
This is making so much sense.
Yeah.
It's not about being punitive.
Right.
It's about being a problem solver and a coach.
Exactly.
And in the end, that benefits everyone involved.
And the beautiful thing is all of this feeds into Step 7 evaluation.
Okay.
Remember how we started with those client outcomes?
Yeah.
This is where we circle back.
Okay.
And see if our supervision, both the supportive and corrective pieces, is actually moving the needle.
So it's not enough to just do the 7 steps.
Right.
We have to actually measure whether they're working.
Precisely. We need to look at the data and ask, are staff skills improving?
Yeah.
Are they implementing interventions more effectively?
Yeah.
And most importantly, are our clients making progress towards those initial goals we set?
Wow. It really is a full circle process.
It is.
But let's be real for a second. We're all busy BCBAs.
Yes, we are.
I'm already thinking about my to-do list of how I'm going to squeeze all of this in.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
And that's why this protocol emphasizes prioritizing.
Okay.
You don't have to tackle everything at once.
Okay. So how do we decide where to focus our efforts?
Right.
What gets prioritized?
Think about the performance areas that have the most direct impact on client outcomes.
Okay.
If a staff member is struggling with something that isn't directly related to client progress,
right,
it might not be the top priority right now.
So if they're amazing at running programs, but their session notes are a little disorganized, that's probably not a DEFCON 1 situation.
Exactly. However, if those disorganized notes mean critical information is getting missed, and that's impacting treatment decisions, then it bumps up the priority list.
Got it. Focus on what matters most for our clients.
Yes.
But here's a question that keeps popping into my head.
Okay.
This all sounds very structured and, dare I say, a bit intense.
Sure.
Does it actually make our staff enjoy their jobs more? I always thought happy staff came from being more relaxed and hands-off with supervision.
That's a common misconception.
Right.
What creates job satisfaction is knowing what's expected of you, having the skills to meet those expectations. Yeah.
And feeling supported by your supervisor.
Hi.
This protocol checks all those boxes.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
When we're clear about expectations, provide good training, and offer consistent support and appropriate correction, it creates a sense of competence and success.
Exactly.
And who doesn't enjoy feeling successful at their job?
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And there's even research showing that when staff feel supported and competent,
oh, wow,
they're more likely to be engaged and less likely to burn out.
Nice.
It's a win-win for everyone.
I'm sold. But before we wrap up this amazing deep dive,
Yeah.
I have one more question nagging at me.
Okay.
What about those situations where a staff member's performance is really causing problems and it's directly impacting client outcomes?
Right.
How do we handle that?
Okay.
I mean, we can't just ignore it and hope it gets better on its own.
Right.
You're right. We can't just cross our fingers and hope things magically improve.
So let's talk about those tough situations when a staff member's performance is really impacting client outcomes.
Okay.
What does corrective supervision actually look like in those cases?
First, take a deep breath.
Okay.
It's easy to get overwhelmed or let emotions take over in these situations.
Yeah.
But remember, our goal is to help the staff member improve,
Right.
not to punish them.
Easier said than done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you've got worried parents.
Sure.
Maybe even an agency breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
How do we stay focused on that helping mindset when the pressure's on?
It goes back to those first few steps of the protocol.
Okay.
We've got clear expectations.
Right.
We've provided training.
Yeah.
We've been monitoring. And now we've got data showing there's a problem.
Okay.
That data helps us depersonalize it.
Okay.
It's not about being mean to the staff member.
Right.
It's about addressing a performance gap that's impacting the client.
Okay, that helps. So what are some concrete steps we can take when it's clear that more intensive corrective action is needed?
Clear and direct feedback is key.
Okay.
We need to sit down with the staff member, share the specific concerns we have,
Right.
and explain how those concerns are affecting the client's progress.
And I'm guessing clear and direct doesn't mean sugarcoating it.
No, it means being honest and specific.
Okay.
But it also means being respectful and solution-focused.
Right.
We're not just pointing out problems.
Yeah.
We're working with the staff member to come up with a plan for improvement.
So it's not you're doing this wrong. It's more like we've noticed this pattern.
Right.
And here's the impact it's having.
Exactly.
Let's talk about how we can address it together.
Exactly. And depending on the situation, that plan might involve more intensive training,
Okay.
revised job responsibilities, closer monitoring,
Okay.
or even a performance improvement plan with specific goals and timelines.
This brings up another point. Documentation. I know it's not the most glamorous part of our job.
Right.
But when we're dealing with these more serious performance issues,
Yeah.
we need to be keeping good records, right?
Absolutely. Detailed documentation protects both you and the staff member.
Okay.
It shows that you've followed a clear process, you've provided support, and you've taken appropriate steps to address the concerns.
Makes sense. So we've got clear feedback, a plan for improvement, and thorough documentation. Anything else we should keep in mind when we're navigating these tricky waters?
Remember that corrective supervision should always be individualized.
Okay.
What works for one staff member might not work for another.
Right.
And we need to be flexible and willing to adjust our approach as needed.
So if a staff member is struggling with a new intervention,
Right?
and we've tried more training,
Yeah.
and it's still not clicking,
Yeah.
we might need to consider if that intervention is even the right fit for them.
Right.
Maybe there's a different approach that plays to their strengths better.
That's a great example of individualized corrective action.
Okay.
And sometimes even with our best efforts,
Yeah.
we might find that a staff member just isn't a good fit for the role.
Right.
Or for the specific client they're working with.
Right.
Those are tough conversations to have, but sometimes they're necessary.
And that's a whole other deep dive. But seriously, this has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for approaching supervision.
Good.
Before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our fellow BCBAs out there?
Embrace the challenge of supervision.
Okay.
It's not always easy,
Yeah.
but it's one of the most important roles we play as BCBAs. And when we approach it with a mindset of support collaboration and continuous improvement,
Right.
we can create a work environment where both staff and clients thrive.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into evidence-based supervision.
Of course.
Remember, this 7-step protocol is a roadmap, not a rigid rule book.
Right.
Adapt it to your specific needs, prioritize what matters most,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to get creative in your approach to supporting your staff.
Absolutely.
And until next time, keep up the incredible work you're doing.
Yes.
You're making a difference in the lives of your clients and your staff every single day.
That's right.
And that's something worth celebrating.
Yeah.